The Jazz Hands Incident, a short story. Our hero misunderstands the younger generation. "That does it," I said. "I'm going to find Ricky." When I found him, I said, "Ricky, I've got something to say." He was all ears. "Ricky," I said, "there's no cloud. It's just someone else's computer." He looked at me. He knew I was joking. "Sure," he said, "there's no cloud." "Seriously, Ricky," I had to reiterate, "there's no cloud." He thought for a moment and then asked the obvious question. "Then where does all the data go?" "To someone's computer, Ricky," I explained. "There's no cloud." Ricky, though, was a man of simple faith. He looked perplexed at first, processing, but soon took resolve. "There is a cloud," he declared, "and it's full of data. You would hear no other." I was going to persist. "Ricky, there's no cloud. The data goes to someone else's computer. It's an established fact. The skeptics were right. The cloud is merely wafting vapours in your mind." At this umbrage, Ricky came back being smart. "Well, thank you for keeping me up to date," the young man rendered with a sarcasm. "I wouldn't want vapours wafting in my mind, would I?" He didn't believe a word of my nonsense. "You listen to too many podcasts," he said, speaking of data. "There's this German professor," I explained. "He has proof. There's no such thing as the cloud, Ricky. The data goes to someone else's computer." This assertion so unsettled his worldview that he looked down at his feet. He was disappointed in me, I could see. When he looked up, he said again, "There is a cloud, and it's full of data," and he added sagely, "and I don't think conspiracy nuts should be causing trouble by going around saying otherwise." "There is no cloud, Ricky," I insisted. "There is a cloud," he riposted again, "and it's full of data." A week later, there was a knock on my door. It was Ricky's brother Dick. "Did you tell Ricky there is no cloud?" he asked me directly. "I did," I confessed. "Somebody had to." "No, they didn't," said Dick. "Ricky was a perfectly happy camper with the cloud. You should see him now." According to Dick, Ricky had become a forlorn apparition. He was listless and disagreeable in the mornings. He was never very likeable, Ricky, but he had now become a sore point in every conversation. "He was walking around with wafting vapours in his mind," I explained. "So," said Dick, "it is better than the smelly miasma lingering in there now." I stayed with the metaphor. Might there not be a clear breeze of wholesome perspicuity, I wondered. Dick said it was obvious I was listening to too many podcasts. "People don't call him Ricky the Cloud for nothing," he went on. "If you take away the cloud, there's just Ricky." I agreed this was a problem. It was a problem that Dick and Ricky's family had to live with, whereas I didn't. I recognised the dilemma. The dilemma was intergenerational in Ricky's family. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "I'll just tell him the truth," said Dick. "There is a cloud, and it's full of data." "But there's a German professor," I began. Dick was quick. "Keep your German professors in your pants," he urged me. "You should find Ricky and say sorry." I was to relent? I was to apologise? Ricky went about town on his own cloud nine, and his mind had taken lodgings in the ether, whereas there were German professors who could prove it was all fluxum. Dick himself was agnostic. "I don't care if there is or isn't a cloud," he said, "but the data goes somewhere." I agreed with that. In Ricky's world it went to the cloud, which, in all probability, was white and fluffy and drifted like a vapour through his mind, even on a sunny day. Dick accused me of being old-fashioned. You still think young men about town like Ricky care a fuzznut about actualities. This isn't the 1990s, he declared. Ricky, he explained, like the young men of his day, just wanted somewhere to plug his lifestyle in and know his data is going to the cloud. Take away the cloud, and he's just a wet puddle. I understand, I said, being post-truthful. Ricky at the cloud, I supposed, was not a damage to himself or the broader community, and the people who thought there was a cloud all met him there to celebrate their trivia and pimples. I did harbour an obsolete concern for his mental life, but Dick assured me it had all been converted to digital. The next morning, I caught up with Ricky again. He was sitting in the lonesome Teardrop Coffee and Grill, looking demonetised, in front of his tricky laptop, and obviously a forlorn apparition. You know what I was saying the other day about the cloud? I said to him, beginning. He looked up. Was I there to be cruel to him again? I hope you didn't take it to heart, Ricky, I went on. I was just being satirical. Of course there's a cloud, and it's full of data. Everyone knows that. They do, he agreed. He had started an online poll. Everyone in the forum said there was a cloud and it was full of data. Otherwise, where does all the data go? But satire, that would explain it. I don't understand satire, said Ricky. Well, there's the problem, I said. There had been a secret genetic modification made to all children born after 2004. They just couldn't understand satire. If I was being satirical with him, it was small wonder Ricky took it as a blow to his metaphysical chops. What did I expect? So there is a cloud? He asked again. On his tricky laptop he had just then composed an hilarious meme about an anime character named Jordan, and he wondered if he should unleash it on the world. It would get a lot of likes. Before this, though, he filled me in on the current etiquette. It is only polite, he said, when people like you are being satirical, to signal it to people like me with jazz hands. And he demonstrated his jazz hands to me. That was it, the jazz hands incident. No man, young or old, had ever made jazz hands at me before. Is it customary these days, I wondered, hesitant. It saves a lot of misunderstanding, said he. I paused and let the flutter of the jazz hands fade in the ambience. Then, in answer to his question, I said in rare earnest, Yes, Ricky, there is a cloud. But I was thinking satirically to myself, sure, just as in Virginia's world there is a Santa Claus, but the illusion would have been wasted in the empty corners of the sad cafe. I don't know what I was thinking. Ricky of the Clouds pressed the send button and was a happy camper again. The results were tangible, immediate, like turning on a tap, to use a simile from the analogue days. Perhaps I was listening to too many podcasts after all. Where did I ever get the idea that Ricky and his ilk would be better beings without somewhere to plug in their lifestyle?